Hi everyone. Today I want to tell you about the research assignment. So the research assignment's actually going to be your final. But it is a many step process to get to the final project, or the final product. So I want to get us all started on it early. So I want to show you a little bit about where to find things and also the instructions involved. Okay, so if you go to your modules, I will put everything necessary for the research assignment in this module, okay? So let's look at the instructions. Okay, so I'm gonna not read through this to you. Goodness gracious, I can't speak today. All right, but I will have you go read it on your own, but I want to kind of explain some of it to you. So this is a larger research project that will use both primary and secondary sources to come up with an argument. You're going to come up with your own argument and support it with primary sources and secondary sources, okay? It's not going to be a paper. It will be in poster form, actually virtual poster form, which I will talk about later. So I don't want you to worry about the visual aspect yet. First of all, we need to get started on sources, what sources you're going to use, what kind of topic you want to look at, and then also what is your research question that you're going to be examining through the sources, okay? So let's talk about some of the things that you'll need. You're going to need to use 5 primary sources and 2 secondary sources for this project, okay? You can use primary or secondary sources that we've worked on in class, okay? But you will also need to use some that are from our Google Docs, okay? And so if you click here, you will be able to link to Google Docs or Google Drives, I guess it's called Google Drives now, site that is actually going to as it pulls up, give you the sources that you can choose from to use, okay? You will have an option of 4 different topics to pick from for this project. And those, so here we go, primary, secondary, right? First we're going to look at primary sources. So the 4 different topics that you will be able to choose from are the Civil War, Indians, slavery, and women, okay? And if you click on any one of those topics, you will get an array of primary sources on that topic, right? So that's the Civil War. We also have an array of sources on Indians. Then we have an array of sources on slavery. And lastly, a number of different choices on sources on women, okay? And we put these together for you because they are good, helpful sources that you'll be able to use to create a good thesis and to support, okay? Additionally, you will also find, and you're not going to need to worry about this as soon, but you will also find the same situation in secondary sources, right? There's going to be fewer options here to choose from, but they're longer, okay? But I want to talk to you about primary sources because on October 14th, you're going to have a primary sourcing activity that will be due, and I'm going to show you that next, okay? So you can, one other thing I want to say about this, I also include a rubric that your final visual project will be graded on, so you can look at that to see what is going to be expected of you. Okay, so now, if we go back to the modules, sorry, this is a bit slow, partially because I have too much going on this computer. Okay, so if we go back to the modules, and we go back, you will see that there's a research project primary sourcing, okay, and this will be due on October 14th, okay, and looks like an assessment, but the questions will be sourcing questions, right? You're going to have to choose 2 of the primary sources from whichever of these topics you like. So say you choose to write about women, okay? Well, then you can look at you can browse all of these primary sources, but you're going to have to pick 2 primary sources to examine for your sourcing project. So then you have to think about what kind of topic in women's history do you want to talk about, okay? So there's a number of different options here, but you're going to have to examine them to see what you would like. There's some on the American Revolution, right? So this is one about the American Revolution. There's another one. This is about from a daughter of a loyalist, right? So that's also the American Revolution. Here's a one by Martha Washington, so another American Revolution. There's also ones about slavery. So you're going to look through and find two sources that relate to each other, right? And then you can source them. Okay, so here's another. All right. And they come in a form, PDFs and then also documents like this, okay? So then you'll have to actually go and answer these questions, right? So first, I want you to answer the first question with the title, which you can find here. So this, if you were choosing this document, the first answer would just be Martha Washington on life after the Revolution, okay? Okay, and then you would go and say who wrote this primary source, what was the topic or topics, right? So you can list them. Those don't necessarily have to be in complete sentences. When was it written? Where was it written? And then this is a very important one. This must be answered in complete sentences. What was the purpose of writing the document? And also think about who was their audience, right? If it's a letter, the other person they're writing a letter to. If it's a diary, it might just be for their own personal writings, right? So they might just be the only intended audience, right? If it's a newspaper, then it's the readers of the paper, right? Things like that, okay? And then you're going to give a brief summary of that in 3 to 6, of the document in 3 to 6 sentences. So what's happening in it, what's it talking about, what's important from it. And you're going to do that again for a second primary source, right? So you're going to essentially do the exact same questions, choose another primary source, and answer all the same, okay? Lastly, this last question, question 15, I want you to think about, based on the sources that you have chosen to use, what do you hope or anticipate your research project to talk about, okay? And this can be very broad because you're at the very early stages of your research. So you could be thinking about, if you are choosing the American Revolution, you want to examine what the women's experience was during the war, right? How it affected their family life, possibly. What was the home front like? So what was, even though there was fighting elsewhere, how was that affecting farms in Massachusetts or farms in Virginia or New York City trading, something like that, right? So those are the kind of questions that you can ask. And this question I will give you feedback on so that we can help you formulate your project and the kind of the topic and the questions that you are, or question that you're looking to answer through this project, okay? So this is a big project, but you will have many, many, many weeks to complete it. And we want to do it in sections so it doesn't seem too daunting, right? And the first section is that you're going to look at these primary sources, and then you're going to pick two that seem to relate to one another, and you're going to source them and begin to think about what sort of project that you want to work on and what kind of historical questions you want to examine and then possibly answer, okay? Actually not possibly, definitely answer. You're going to make an argument, a historical argument, okay? And then we'll talk about the other steps later. But one other thing to be thinking about, you can also, because you will be given the link, check out the secondary sources. So if you are in fact going to write about women, check out what these are. What do they talk about? How can they be helpful? All of those things, okay? And you can also use look at the secondary sources we read for the class as well to start thinking about those, okay? So I'm sure there will be questions about this, so feel free to email me, or please set up an appointment or come see me in my office hours. Again, that's on Tuesday from noon to 1, unless I let you know that I can't be there. But please, please, please come see me and we can talk about this. And I want to make sure that you have plenty of time to work on it, so I'm giving you this weeks in advance. But make sure to take a look at it early because it is a large project and an important part of your final grade. All right, I'll see you all soon.